Forget what the movies told you. Real gunslingers and frontier folks carried weapons you have never seen on the silver screen. Some were brilliant. Some were deadly to the wrong person. Today we are counting down 10 weapons from the Wild West era that Hollywood never showed you. No myths, no Hollywood tricks, just the mechanical tragedy. Number 10. The Sharps 4-barrel pepperbox. When gamblers and traveling salesmen needed concealable protection, they could hide in a vest pocket. The Sharps 4-barrel pepperbox became their weapon of choice, but only because it minimized the number of exposed ignition points. Christian Sharps patented this unusual little pistol back in 1849, though it did not hit the market until 1859 when rimfire cartridges made it practical. 4 fixed barrels sat in a square cluster, and instead of rotating the barrels like older pepperbox designs, a rotating firing pin on the hammer struck each barrel in sequence. To reload, you pressed a button and slid the entire barrel assembly forward. The pistol measured barely 5 inches long overall and chambered .22, .30, or .32 rimfire cartridges. Sharps produced over 150,000 of these little pistols between 1859 and 1874. Legend says one was found on Wild Bill Hickok after his death at the poker table, but legends rarely note that such a backup weapon fails first. Number 9. The Allen and Thurber pepperbox. Before Samuel Colt dominated the handgun market, the Allen and Thurber pepperbox ruled the frontier, and ruled it with a very real threat of chain fire. Ethan Allen, no relation to the Revolutionary War hero, patented this double-action pocket pistol in 1837 alongside his brother-in-law, Charles Thurber. The design featured 6 rotating barrels, usually in .31 or .32 caliber, fired by an iconic bar hammer mounted on top. Pulling the trigger would rotate the barrels, cock the hammer, and fire in one smooth motion. This was revolutionary for the 1830s. Mark Twain famously joked about these pistols in his book Roughing It, writing that sometimes all 6 barrels would go off at once, and there was no safe place in all the region except behind it. Chain fires were a real danger with those exposed percussion nipples sitting so close together. Tens of thousands were sold. Gold Rush prospectors heading to California in 1849 packed them for protection, often without understanding the failure mode. Civil War soldiers carried them as backup weapons. Surviving examples rest in the Metropolitan Museum of Art and the Buffalo Bill Center of the West, preserved as monuments to dangerous ingenuity. Number 8. The Volcanic pistol. The Volcanic pistol looked like something from the future when it appeared in 1855. Horace Smith and Daniel Wesson created a lever-action repeating pistol that could fire up to 10 shots without reloading. The secret was the rocket ball cartridge, a self-contained bullet with a powder charge packed inside the hollow base. Here is the problem. That cartridge was pathetically weak. The .41 caliber Navy model could only push its bullet at around 260 feet per second, generating barely 56 foot-pounds of energy. A modern .22 short hits harder than that. Misfires plagued the design because gas leaked around the breech. The Volcanic Repeating Arms Company folded by 1857, but one of its investors, Oliver Winchester, bought the patents and kept working. Benjamin Tyler Henry eventually redesigned the whole system with proper rimfire cartridges, and the Henry rifle was born. The Winchester lever actions that followed truly won the West. The Volcanic pistol was the flawed ancestor that made it all possible. But a flaw is still a flaw. Number 7. The Colt revolving rifle. Samuel Colt figured, if his revolver works so well in a handgun, why not put the same cylinder on a rifle? Because cylinders leak. The Model 1855 revolving rifle gave soldiers 5 or 6 shots from a long barrel, available in .36, .44, or .56 caliber. The U.S. Army adopted it in 1855, making it the first repeating rifle in military service. Pony Express riders carried them. Over 4,400 were purchased during the Civil War. In practice, soldiers hated them. The problem was chain fire. Gunpowder would leak from paper cartridges and collect around the cylinder. When you fired, hot gas could ignite the powder in adjacent chambers, and suddenly all your loaded rounds went off at once. With a rifle, where your left hand grips the barrel in front of the cylinder, molten lead and burning gas would spray directly into your forearm. Commanders tried everything. Some told their men to hold the rifle only behind the trigger guard. Others ordered soldiers to load just one chamber at a time, completely defeating the purpose of a repeating rifle. By 1864, production stopped. The rifles were sold off for just 42 cents each, down from their original $44 price. Don't forget to leave us a like and hit the subscribe button if you like our video. Thank you. Number 6. The Winans Steam Gun. This might be the strangest failure on our list. The Winans steam gun used steam power and centrifugal force instead of gunpowder to fling lead balls at the enemy. It looked like a small locomotive with a large curved metal shield protecting its inner workings. Ohio inventors William Jocelyn and Charles Dickinson patented the original hand-cranked version in 1858. Dickinson later built a steam-powered prototype and brought it to Baltimore in early 1861. The machine supposedly could fire 200 projectiles per minute by spinning a barrel at 250 revolutions per minute. After the Baltimore riot of April 19, 1861, city police seized the weapon. When Dickinson tried to sell the gun to Confederate forces, Union troops captured it at Ellicott Mills, Maryland. They found it could not match the accuracy or power of conventional firearms. The steam boiler made it heavy and impractical for field use. The Mythbusters television show built a replica in 2007 and could not get the rounds to penetrate a target at close range. A full-scale replica built in 1961 still stands in Elkridge, Maryland, a monument to over-engineering without a use case. If you have made it this far, you are clearly interested in the real failure modes of the frontier. Tap that like button so I know to dig deeper into more forgotten catastrophic designs next time. Number 5. The Spencer Pump-Action Shotgun. Most people think John Browning invented the pump-action shotgun with his Winchester Model 1893. They are wrong, and the earlier design nearly bankrupted its creator. Christopher Spencer, the same man who created the famous Spencer repeating rifle, beat him by over a decade. Spencer partnered with Sylvester Roper and patented their pump-action design in April 1882. The Model 1882 shotgun chambered 12-gauge with a tubular magazine holding 5 to 8 shells depending on barrel length. A toggle breech pivoted up and down when you cycled the pump, ejecting spent shells from the top. The shotgun featured 2 triggers, one to fire and a second to recock the hammer in case of a misfire, which happened often with early paper shells. Annie Oakley owned a Spencer 1882 and used it throughout her time with Buffalo Bill's Wild West show. About 20,000 were produced before the company went bankrupt in 1889. Francis Bannerman bought the patents and continued production until 1907. It pioneered the pump-action design that remains the most popular shotgun type today, but Spencer himself never profited. Number 4. Jonathan Browning's harmonica gun. Before John Moses Browning became the greatest firearms designer in history, his father Jonathan was building repeating rifles on the Mormon frontier, by hand, with deep religious conviction, but with a fundamentally awkward mechanism. Sometime between 1834 and 1842, Jonathan Browning invented what he called a slide gun, also known as a harmonica gun because of its unusual appearance. The design used a horizontal metal bar with multiple chambers drilled through it, looking somewhat like a harmonica. You loaded powder and ball into each chamber, placed percussion caps on the nipples, then slid the bar into the receiver. After firing, you manually pushed the bar sideways to align the next loaded chamber with the barrel. Manual indexing meant slow follow-up shots. Browning offered these rifles with anywhere from 5 to 25 shots, depending on customer preference. Each one took 2 weeks to make by hand and sold for $24. Guns produced in his Nauvoo, Illinois shop bore the inscription, "Holiness to the Lord, our preservation." In 1852, Jonathan Browning captained a wagon train of 10 Mormon families across the Great Plains to Utah Territory. His personal harmonica rifle provided security during the 1,000-mile journey and required a free hand to slide the bar after every shot. Surviving examples command prices between $50,000 and $100,000 at auction. Number 3. The Cochran Turret Revolver. When Samuel Colt patented his revolving cylinder, competitors scrambled to find ways around his monopoly. John Webster Cochran's solution was bizarre and lethally unsafe. Instead of rotating chambers around a horizontal axis like a normal revolver, the Cochran turret revolver mounted its 7-shot cylinder horizontally, rotating around a vertical pivot like a lazy Susan. C.B. Allen of Springfield, Massachusetts, manufactured about 150 of these pistols in the late 1830s. The design was about .40 caliber with an underhammer mechanism. Here is the terrifying problem. Because the cylinder rotated horizontally, some chambers always pointed sideways or even backward toward the shooter. If a chain fire occurred, you might shoot yourself. The weapon earned a reputation as dangerous to everyone in the room. Cochran demonstrated a cannon version to the Sultan of the Ottoman Empire in 1836, firing it 100 times in 15 minutes and receiving a handsome reward of gold. But the safety issues doomed the turret concept. Surviving examples are extremely rare collector pieces because most were likely melted down. Number 2. The Lefaucheux's 20-shot pinfire revolver. Eugene Lefaucheux of Paris created the first practical metallic cartridge revolver in 1854. The pinfire design used a cartridge with a small pin sticking out of the base. When the hammer struck the pin, it ignited the primer inside. Simple and effective until you try to double the capacity. Over 12,000 standard 6-shot models were purchased by the U.S. government during the Civil War. But Lefaucheux wanted more firepower. The 20-shot variant featured 2 concentric rings of chambers in its massive cylinder, 10 in an outer ring and 10 in an inner ring. Because the inner chambers could not align with the main barrel, Lefaucheux added a second barrel underneath the first. Each trigger pull alternated between the top and bottom barrels, working through all 20 rounds. These revolvers came in 7mm, 8mm, or 9mm pinfire to keep the cylinder size manageable. The double-action folding trigger allowed rapid fire. Contemporary sources document these revolvers being used during the Civil War, primarily by Confederate officers who valued sustained firepower and presumably had a gunsmith on retainer. Reliability with 20 pins in the field? Unlikely. Number 1. The LeMat revolver. The most famous weapon on this list served Confederate legends like Stonewall Jackson and General Braxton Bragg. The LeMat revolver gave its user 9 shots from a revolving cylinder plus a single shotgun blast all in one handgun and a catastrophic weight penalty. Dr. Jean Alexander LeMat of New Orleans patented his design in 1856. The cylinder held 9 chambers in .42 or .36 caliber rotating around a central smoothbore barrel chambered for 16 to 20 gauge buckshot. A lever on the hammer let the shooter switch between the revolver rounds and the shotgun blast. About 2,900 were made in Paris and Liège, Belgium, and smuggled through the Union blockade via England, where they received Birmingham-proof marks. In close quarters, that shotgun barrel was devastating. Confederate cavalrymen could empty 9 aimed shots at pursuing enemies, then deliver a spread of buckshot when things got desperate. General P.G.T. Beauregard, LeMat's cousin, championed the weapon and helped secure Confederate contracts. The revolver weighed over 3 pounds loaded and used non-standard ammunition sizes, forcing owners to cast their own bullets. After the war, many LeMat revolvers traveled west with former Confederate soldiers. The Italian company Pieta still manufactures reproductions today for collectors who do not have to carry one. Thanks for watching History in Pixels. See you in the next video.